Welcome to Scott's Speed Triple channel. Today we're going to do a long-term 10,000 mile review of the 2022 Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. For those of you who are returning to the channel, you have probably seen most or all of the modifications I've already made to the bike. But for those of you who are new to the channel, we'll do a quick walk around the motorcycle, show you the modifications I've made to it. And talk just a little bit about what I've done to it, how I like it, etc. So I've had the bike 2.5 years and I now have just over 10,000 miles on it. First modification that I purchased when I put the deposit on the bike was for the fly screen and the windshield, the Triumph factory accessory. The windshield and the fly screen. He used to have just a little shorty thing right here, but I have that. And that did not come in when I got the bike, so I had to add it a little later. The very first modification I made were these carbon fiber rubbery tank protectors, and I ride with a tank bag most all of the time, so that'll keep the tank bag from slipping and rubbing on my gas tank. And I thought the carbon fiber look would be a good idea, considering the motorcycle came with a carbon fiber front fender, which was the only piece of carbon fiber that was on the bike originally when we got it. And so when the fly screen came in, I also added a Blue Sky Seas front and rear bike camera. It has no monitor. You have to use your phone to connect to it to view. So you could do that, I guess, if you wanted to mount your phone somewhere on the bike, or you can just use it to review the footage once it's been filmed. That is controlled by a switch that's here. That's where you would push this button to connect and disconnect from your phone. And I plug it in simply with an adapter for the European style connector. It plugs in, turns on when I plug it in. I don't have a way to actually turn it on and off. Even that button doesn't do that. Another modification that I made soon after that were these Denali driving lights. I've come down a 5-mile stretch of road through the middle of the boonies where I see a lot of deer, and I felt a little more light up the road would help. They're pretty bright, and they're relatively small. They don't seem to stick out too much. And I have those hardwired, and they are switched with this switch on the handlebar for a low power or a high power. A lot of times they look like they're flickering to the camera, but they are not. They're just solid on. And I also have an Angel Speedo screen protector. And after looking at the bike for a month or so, I decided it needed more carbon fiber. So I made a big order, 2 orders actually. First order, I ordered the radiator guards. And I ordered the muffler cover and the catalytic converter cover. The rear hugger. And the chain guard, the upper chain guard. In the second order, I ordered the lower chain guard, the heel guards, the exhaust valve cover, and the 2 that I really like the most here up top, the tank infill and the frame infill. There's another complete video on that, and that was a real challenge, but it looks fantastic. The tank infill, the upper one, was pretty simple, but the lower one required removing the air box and several components. It really was a challenge. Definitely glad I did it, and I got some experience as to pulling it apart, so in the future for air filters or coolant changes or plugs, I can get to them pretty well now. Another feature that I got lucky about were these Triumph Factory OEM accessory scrolling turn signals. Supposedly, they are not legal in the United States. Something about when they first turn on, there's only one little LED that doesn't cover enough area. But they ordered them, they came in, they told me to keep them, and they said if I had any problems, they'd take them back and give me my money back. So everything was good with that. While I was doing the carbon fiber, I also went ahead and got the tail section eliminator, the EvoTech tail tidy. Pull that long silver tail section off. Really tightens up the rear end. I've liked the looks of it on many other bikes, so decided I would get that. And I ride solo. Matter of fact, I've never even had the rear seat on here, not one time. I also got the EvoTech exhaust bracket holder to eliminate the rear passenger pegs, and along with a lot of the carbon fiber, you'll notice they're black bolts. I got a fairing kit, cheap fairing kit, which some of the bolts are broken, but to make it black rather than silver bolts. And another modification, the big modification, was the SC Project muffler. This is the CRT twin tube muffler, and it's really nice. I like it. The only difference, this is kind of a matte finish versus a gloss on all the other carbon fiber, but I like the looks of it. I like the sound of it. So and lastly, of course, I did get a custom plate. I felt like this bike really deserved it. This is the first time I've had a custom tag on any vehicle, and I thought the Speed Triple deserved it. So, one more time, just quick walk around, take a look. And we'll be doing a long-term 10,000 mile review. Oh, I also added some bar end weights. These bar end weights, I put those on to help eliminate mirror vibration. First I hard mounted them, then I went ahead and put a rubber mount in there, and it didn't help at all. So that was kind of silly, but since they're on there, I just haven't taken them off. I don't need to take them off. So again, today we're going to do a long-term 10,000 mile review of this motorcycle, the 2022 Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. And if you just pulled in to hear me rant and rave, you'll get plenty of that. And I'm also going to go over some of the things that, even though they're minor, that I'm not thrilled with. And again, they are really minor, but that will be our video for today. Some of you may know I was planning a trip to Blood Mountain and the Georgia Dragon. Well, I was told in early December that I had to use all my vacation time by the end of the year or it would go away. So I planned a quick trip for 3 days. The temperatures are going to be very cold, but no chance of rain. Less than an hour into the trip, my hands were getting icy cold. I didn't want to start the electric gloves because the batteries wouldn't last that long. And anyway, an hour into the trip, not even an hour into the trip, this happened. I got pulled over. I had seen a McDonald's on the left. I was going to stop and debate whether I was going to go on the rest of the trip while I ate some hot food. So he clocked me at 54, only wrote me for 39 to save me some money. This is simply a speed trap. But yeah, that made my choice. Turned around, went home. So have not done the trip to Blood Mountain or the Georgia Dragon yet. However, I turned 10,000 miles on that day. I bet that thing right there will scoop on it. It's pretty fast, yeah. It's not one of the fastest bikes on the road, but up there in probably the top 10%. Yeah. You heading out or heading back in?
We're heading out. We're getting a little late start, but we wasn't in no hurry this morning.
Yeah. Hey, have a good day out there.
You too. Be safe.
Power-wise, the 1200 RS is pretty good. Triumph claims 177 horsepower and 92 foot-pounds of torque. That equates to about 160 horsepower at the rear wheel. Top speed from the factory is limited at 160 miles per hour. You can have remapping or downloads done to eliminate that top speed limiter. It'll reach the 160 mark pretty easily. Which is probably closer to 150 miles per hour actual speed. And at 160, showing about 10,000 RPM, which leaves another 1,500 RPM until redline. I actually think the redline is 11.6, so 1,600 RPM. And I figure that would equate to another at least 10 to 20 miles per hour. So factory settings, you can get an honest top speed of about 150, maybe 155. With a remapping, probably 160 to 170, maybe 175. It accelerates great. No need to downshift for normal passing. Front end gets light under heavy acceleration. I ride mostly in sport mode, and that works well for me. So for pure power and speed, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. And the only reason I give it an 8 out of 10 is because in today's market, with the high horsepower hyperbikes topping 200 horsepower and 200 miles an hour, Triumph is still a little bit shy. I also wish the bike was not limited to 160 mile an hour top speed. I mean, think about it. If you're going to do 160 on your speedometer, what's the difference between 175 on your speedometer? Come on, Triumph, give us a break. Speaking of Triumph giving us a break, they gave us Brembo, Stylema calipers, rotors, and master cylinder on the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS, and they are very high-end components. They are probably the best brakes I've ever had on any motorcycle I've owned, and probably the best on any bike I've ever ridden. I've ridden Ducatis, I've ridden sport bikes and various different bikes with add-on aftermarket type brakes, and these brakes are phenomenal. The braking on this bike is effortless. 2 fingers, you can come to a hard stop if you need to. They are anti-lock brakes, and I noticed the anti-lock rear brake kicks in sometimes when I don't really think it's necessary. They are a linked brake system. When you apply only the front brake, you'll get both discs up front, and you'll get a slight portion of the rear that Triumph claims is for stability. When you apply the rear brake, you only get rear brake. I lead with my front and then apply a little bit of rear anyway on almost all stopping occasions. But yeah, these brakes are phenomenal, absolutely incredible. You can stop yourself in a hurry if you need to, and regular braking is effortless, 2 fingers. The feel is really, really good. The control is very, very good as well. The caliper, the master cylinder, is actually an adjustable pin in there that will adjust how much the piston moves under regular lever throw. You can make it a 19, 20, or 21. I think that's millimeters. I keep it on 20, the setting in the middle. And again, these probably are the best brakes that I've ever had on a motorcycle, and I would dare say they rival the best brakes on the market. Again, braking is fantastic on this machine. 10 out of 10 all day long. The handling is very, very good also. It's very nimble for a large displacement machine. It weighs in at about 425 pounds wet. That's lighter than most, if not all, of the other bikes in its class. It turns into corners or curves with very little effort, and it stays put when it's at a lean angle. You can change the lean angle easily, but it does stay put. Noticed it moves around in the wind a little bit, possibly because it is so nimble and the wind will just push you a little bit. Something I've noticed that I find interesting is how we control our steering using our throttle. I noticed on highways when I've got the cruise control on, I have to constantly adjust to stay on the side of the lane I want to be on. Perhaps I'm on the right-hand side of the lane with the cruise control, and it's kind of like I got to fight to stay there. When I don't use the cruise control, it must be an instinct that we have to just use our throttle a little tiny bit, little changes to keep our lines proper. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. Yeah, you might want to check it out. It's kind of interesting. Put the cruise control on, run down the highway, and just try to stay on one side of your lane, and tell me what you think. So it has Öhlins fully adjustable suspension front and rear. That's high-end stuff as well. And they're adjustable for preload, rebound, and compression dampening. The compression damping for the forks is done on the left tube. The rebound's done on the right. And the preload is stiff. It's not meant to be a cushy Cadillac type ride. It's meant to keep your tires firmly planted on the road surface. And it does that very well. But the trade-off is that it doesn't absorb the cushion, the big heavy bumps. So I take my weight off the seat pretty regularly if I'm coming up on something that's going to jar me. I weigh in at about 155 pounds, and I have my suspension set up at about 25% of maximum for preload and damping settings all the way around, front and rear. And that works well for me. Again, it's not a cushy ride. It's very stiff. Maybe not very stiff, but it is stiff. And you'll notice the heavier bumps will jar you a little bit. It's got a good seat, though, so that helps to take some of the jar out. I've heard a few reviews say that the Speed Triple handling is confidence-inspiring. I would have to fully agree with that statement. It changes direction easily. It stays put when it's leaned over. It handles braking like it's nothing. And it's a matter of fact, it's easier to turn in than even a 600cc sport bike. Perhaps because it's an upright, naked bike with full handlebars. Perhaps because it weighs less than most 600cc sport bikes. I'm not certain as to why, but it's very easy to ride. And the more you ride it, you just start to feel so comfortable with the bike. I've never noticed the traction control kicking in. I've never noticed any type of wiggles or flaws in the suspension, like under braking or under acceleration coming out of a corner. I've never noticed any real issue with it. So confidence inspiring would be one really good way to describe the handling. Mine came with Metzler Racetech RR tires. I don't know, but I think some of the other bikes have come with different tires, especially perhaps overseas. And those, they stick really well. I've heard they were not so good in the rain, but I found that they worked fine in the rain for me. I didn't have any issues. Again, I don't ride this bike every day as a source of transportation, and so I don't generally go out riding in the rain. If I get caught in the rain, it doesn't stop me, but I don't go out in the rain commuting or anything like that. I'll leave the bike home for those days. But yes, I think the bike handles fantastic and very, very nimble, very light. I would give it at least a 9 out of 10 and perhaps a 10 out of 10 in the handling department. And that's how we're going to leave the handling. The ergonomics of the bike are very good for me. I'm 6 foot tall, 155 pounds. I think I could do 300-mile days in the saddle without too much effort. I have the handlebars moved forward maybe an inch and a half, and I've moved the shift lever down slightly to keep it closer to my toe. The brake lever is easy to reach, not a problem. The brake and clutch levers are both fully adjustable for a throw, and I keep them out, extended out most of the way, maybe one click, maybe possibly 2 clicks from furthest out. The seats got adequate cushion, and it's very narrow. The reach to reach the ground is not bad at all. I can sit flat-footed on the bike at a stop. The cushiony ride, no, it's not meant to. So your suspension is firm. But the seat does have adequate cushion. It's not comfy, cushy like a Cadillac, but it's good. It's not too bad. I got away from riding sport bikes. I now like the upright riding position better. I used to always want to be on a sport bike, but I found the jockey position and the clip-on handlebars, after a couple hours maybe now, it would be a little bit too much for me. So I've turned into the upright naked bike guy. overall ergonomics fit me well. Again, that's personal to every person, how you like the way it fits you, if it's comfortable. But for ergonomics, for me, I'd have to give it a 9 out of 10. So features wise, Speed Triple has a lot. The first feature you find out about with this bike is that it's completely keyless. There's no ignition key, no gas tank key, no fork lock key, no seat, no storage. The key fob remains in your pocket, or in my case, I keep it in the tank bag. There's no rattling spare keys or key rings floating around in the air when you're riding. It's pretty cool. ABS and traction control are pretty standard these days, but the electronics on the Speed Triple go further than that. The cruise control is standard. LED lighting is standard. And the Triumph Connect is standard on the bike as well. The Triumph Connect lets you utilize your phone or text messaging on the phone while riding. Yeah, I guess if you have a headset. And you can listen to music. Again, you need the headset. You have to have a headset or speakers in your helmet, but you can listen to music through your phone. You can use Google Maps GPS navigation through your phone on the screen of the bike. And you can control your GoPro through the controls on the bike as well. The handlebar switches are all backlit. It'll warn you of possible icy conditions when the temperature drops down pretty low. Screen with a snowflake pops up, tells you that the roads might be icy. And the low fuel warning light, I always get a kick out of it. When there's about a gallon left in the tank holds 4 gallons, by the way. When there's about a gallon left in the tank, this pops up an ominous message saying refuel immediately. Like you're going to run out right then and there. The first time I saw that, I was a little sketchy. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I think I might be like right out of fuel. But anyway, yeah, there's a gallon left, but it tells you to refuel immediately. That might be a British humor thing. I don't know. We already talked about some of the things that you might call features, like the fully adjustable suspension, the Brembo brakes, and the single-sided swing arm. And the adjustable levers are a feature that's very nice. You can adjust them to match your hand size. And I've had some bikes where you can adjust the levers, but the brakes are not taut enough to adjust them close to the handlebar. You don't have enough room to really get a good bite when you pull it. The brakes are so phenomenal that even if you were to put the levers as close to the handlebars as they'll get, you still have plenty of room and feel for good braking. So feature-wise, it's got a lot of neat features. And I would say features, you gave it a 7 out of 10. There was a couple of features that it probably could have had that it didn't. A lot of the bikes now come with launch control. Doesn't have the launch control. Something I almost forgot about, which I don't even really think of as a feature anymore, although it is one of the big features of a lot of bikes these days, is the quick shifter, the Triumph Shift Assist, which is a quick shifter up and an auto blipper to shift down, which is fantastic. Very, very nice. At first, I wasn't sure if I would use it much. I was but it's really, really nice. I use the downshifting when I'm coming to a slower area of traffic, or sometimes if I'm coming to a stop off of a highway, for instance, from a higher speed. But most times if I'm going into corners or coming to a full stop, I still use the clutch, drop a couple gears, ease out the clutch. But it's so nice upshifting that I found now I don't ever use the clutch upshifting. Very, very rarely. Only in relatively slow traffic where I know I'm not keeping the RPMs up enough, but I want to go up into another gear. So that quick shifter, the Triumph Shift Assist system, is also fantastic. And I know there's been some people that have had issues with it. but I haven't had any real issues with it. Occasionally it'll miss a gear from first to second if I shift at too slow a speed or I don't have enough throttle geared up, but for the most part it's just fantastic. And from all of the reviews that I've read or seen about the bike, seems like it's one of the better quick shifter systems out there. So looks wise, how good does this bike look? Of course, this is a subjective and personal opinion, but I like the looks. It has a certain racy appearance. It's gone away from the ruggedness of the 05 to 07 models that I used to have. They've changed from the high-mounted dual mufflers to a simpler low-mounted single muffler. I'm okay with that, but it does hide the single-sided swing arm some, which was a very nice look on the earlier models. I opted for the black over the silver, and I've added a bunch of carbon fiber to my personal taste. There are other colors available now, such as the orange. I think the orange looks a lot like a KTM. I don't think I'm a fan of that one. The bike doesn't look like a rocket ship on wheels, like a full-out sports bike, but it still has a racy appearance to me. Looks for me, I'd have to give the bike an 8 out of 10. Again, that's a very personal thing, but I like it a lot. If it had the single-sided swing arm showing better, I think I would really like it more. The muffler does definitely hide that. To sum it all up, the new generation Speed Triple 1200 is a phenomenal motorcycle. It's probably the best handling, best braking motorcycle I've ever ridden. It's got good power. It's got a lot of features. It's comfortable enough to ride sedate speeds and normal riding all day long. If you want to step it up and really start hitting the track or doing some real spirited riding, it's going to be right there doing everything you need it to do. The features, lots of features, a lot of which I don't use. Very, very nice. And I think it's got the looks that, to me, are still pretty sporty looking. There have been some issues with some of the bikes. Again, this is a brand new motorcycle from the ground up, so you're going to have some issues at the beginning. You just know that. That some people have had with cooling issues and lots of issues, quick shifter issues. But I was fortunate. I didn't have any real serious issues with the bike. The recalls that I had to have done were all because basically I had one of the first ones out of the box, and all the recalls that I've had done, I still could have ridden it without having the recalls done. The end all beat all is that this is absolutely the bike for me. I don't see any kind of bike that would suit me better. I don't do as much riding as I used to, but when I do ride, I still, every time I get on this bike, I just love it. I don't find any flaws that can make me change my mind. And yeah, there's a few nitpicky things. The mirrors do vibrate a bit at highway speeds. Anything about 50, 55-ish, they start to vibrate a little and you can't really see too cleanly behind you. And yes, every once in a while I have a hard time hitting neutral, but when you're at a stop, you just simply, it'll click into second by mistake. You just tap down lightly, it goes in every time. And the quick shifter, I've missed a couple of upshifts, but generally I think that's because of my slow speed, and perhaps I think that would be just a minor issue. All the accessories I've added and all just make it kind of more personal to me, and I very much like this bike. When you compare it directly to the other hyper nakeds or super nakeds, whatever you want to call them, there's some discrepancies. Discrepancies maybe isn't the word, but yeah, there's some more powerful ones. There's some with features that supposedly are that might be a little better or useful, especially at the track, if you want to adjust your wheelie control and all that kind of thing. But this bike overall is fantastic. Again, this bike probably has the best brakes I've ever had on a motorcycle, and it's nimble. This thing handles probably like most 600s do. It's super fantastic. The quick shifter for me has always worked, and it's always worked really, really well. And power wise, yeah, I could probably, you can never have enough power. You can just never have enough power. So my overall opinion of this bike is that it is fantastic. I love the bike. I love the bike. So thanks for watching my video. This is Scott's Speed Triple channel. I've got more coming in the future. I actually have video already set up to start working on it after a good 4 months. This is the first video in a while. I hope you enjoyed everything in there. To those of you who have the Speed Triple, a lot of this is just a review to you guys, but thank you for watching. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the ones they own already. If you're watching this to determine whether you might want one or not, is it a good bike? Well, it's way better than a good bike. It's a very, very good bike. So, yeah, I would give it a 2 thumbs up rating, and I am glad to own one. So, again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Getting close to that 500 subscriber marks where I can start making a 1/10 of a penny per video or something along those lines. So, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope to see you soon.